Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I am your co-host, Melissa Grove, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Umansky. And we are here with our guest, Tammy Covington. And I think if you are a designer, you need to know who Tammy Covington is. She is the president and CEO of the High Point Market Authority. And you've been a part of the High Point story since day one, is what it sounds like, joining the organization when it was founded in 2001, which seems like yesterday, but that was how long ago now? 24 years ago?
24 years, Melissa. I tell everybody I started when I was 12. So just...
Perfect. That makes sense.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Tammy leads every facet of the market strategy, operations, and the guest experience. She's been honored as a woman of influence and a pillar of the industry. And she's here today to share how designers like us can get more out of market, connect with the right people, and grow our businesses through this one-of-a-kind event. So Tammy, welcome to the Design Dash podcast.
Thank you so much, Melissa, Laura. It's so great to be with you today.
Yeah, we're happy to see you.
Yeah.
Happy to see you outside of market. You know, that's
I know. Right. I'm not like running around on a street somewhere. So it's great.
This market does exist outside of market, and it's existed for a really long time. So, I mean, you've been there as long as you have. What's different now than when you started? I'm sure it's a lot, but
wow. It's not very often that you have an event that can say it's 116 years old. I mean, we have literally been here since 1909 as a market. And surprisingly enough, until 2001, that market existed here in High Point with really no one in charge. That sounds very odd.
Okay.
But it was one of those things where it was a large enough presence in our city that if something needed to be done, someone raised their hand. So if transportation needed to be done, the city said, okay, we'll do that. Or if housing was an issue, the Chamber of Commerce worked together with our CVB. And, so everyone sort of plays this role. But in the 90s, the market really started expanding outside of a few major buildings. And suddenly it became really evident to the leaders, both in the industry and the city, that there needed to be someone sort of as that center pillar. They didn't need to do everything. We were doing things pretty well. It was just that the dots were not necessarily connecting. And so all those folks sat down around a table and started what now is known as the Market Authority. So I was the second staff person hired after a president. And, we started just sort of pulling things in, but I remember like it was yesterday going to my first, at the time, NHFA conference. So the Association for Our Retailers. And I had my brochures and we were all set up and we were telling everybody about High Point. And every person that walked up to the table had a complaint. And after about number, 50 of these, you start to think, what have I done? Like this is...
What did I sign up for?
What did I sign up for? I've worked in High Point for a long time and I had connections to the woman who was president. And I thought this is going to be a great thing. And all of a sudden I'm like, these people hate this. Like we have a lot of work to do.
Or they're just passionate about it. They love it.
Or they're just passionate, Laura. Not so much. I mean, it was, and they had very legitimate issues. And you're right from the standpoint of everybody loved High Point. Everybody loved coming here, but they saw these things that we could just be doing better. And so that was such an education in those early days. You asked Melissa what was different. We really suffered from not having that center entity that sort of could help coordinate things in a way that really made that guest experience top of mind. And that is what our organization, I feel like, has brought to the table. And hopefully you all as designers, see the changes that have been made, the education, the networking opportunities, the transportation, the logistics of the show, the marketing, everything just being, we are a city, basically that becomes the show, and 180 buildings, 201 football fields of fabulous home furnishings product. But it gets, when you have over 100 owners, it's very hard sometimes for the left hand to know what the right is doing. And so what is different today is it's still chaotic, but it's organized chaos, I would like to say.
Yeah. And so I started going to market in 2006, which to me, it was already so well underway and felt really well organized. I didn't actually realize until we were preparing to chat with you that it just kind of got put together like it is today in 2001. Yeah. So even in 2006, it was pretty new. And it was, I mean, in its current iteration, I guess.
Sure. Yes.
But today, going to market as an interior designer feels very different than it did in 2006. Yes. And I'm just curious to know, do you feel like that too? Like when I started going, it's very retailer focused.
I was going to say, yes.
We were, as designers, kind of iced out of a lot of High Point. Yeah. So when did that shift start to happen?
Well, I would probably around 2006, I would say was when we first started seeing designers attend High Point in larger numbers and really starting to see the industry kind of step back and say, wait a minute, there's a shift in the landscape here. And I think we were pretty early to the game in trying to make changes so that designers did feel like this was worth your time. Because you're right. Why are you going to come if you get turned away at every showroom? You know, we were answering questions from exhibitors of like, these designers, like, I don't really know how to price anything.
Right.
How do I, I mean, they're coming to us and I'm like, look, yeah, exactly. I'm like, look, I know a whole lot about buses and porta-johns. I don't know a whole lot about how you should price your product. Like, I'm going to be real up front, but you better figure it out. Like, that's the one thing we kept saying is that, we're starting to see this shift in registration and a lot of what you see in terms of, I mean, when we were a show of retailers, a lot of things like education is one of those things. Yes. Retailers are not looking for education at market. They are not necessarily, they're here to see product. Right. And more than that, they're here to see current vendors. Like, they may look for a couple new sources, but you all are in the business of discovery. Mm-hmm. You want to walk the streets and be like, oh, what is that? Like, let me go in and see, because I could be the first one to find that. Like, so it's very different than how a retailer shops the market. And for us, it was discovering those things and figuring out how to make adjustments. We still need our retailers to want to come to High Point and to shop, but we also need to make sure that designers were finding a home here. And today, 60% of our buyer base are designers. 40% when you're there, are retailers.
When you're there, and probably because I'm biased, it feels like you are very focused on the designer experience. Yes. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I really I don't talk to retailers all that often, I guess, but there's just so much for designers, and the education portion is huge. And it's not just for CEUs. It's also to learn about the business of design or trends or marketing, or it could be
technology and how other people are being successful. Just we find one of my favorite things to do, my team will tell you, I do this more than I probably want to admit, but I probably because I came from the operations side of the business, one of my favorite things to do is take my name tag off and sit on buses.
That's kind of relaxing.
It is kind of relaxing. I mean, I ride the red line around and, you see things, but it's the conversations.
Yeah.
And it is trying to experience the show from your eyes and trying to look at this based on what I know about how a designer wants to work. And it's also sitting there and listening to someone say, what's in that building? Yeah. And then I stand up and say, well, and then I launch into and they're kind of like, Who is that?
What's that show? It's like Undercover Boss.
Yes, that's it. But I also learned so much, like just hearing the conversations. Like it's common for me to sit there and say more signage is needed here, or the app is not doing a good job at these three things, because listening to that guest experience is so key for me. And probably because of that, Laura, is why you see a lot of this show really pointed towards making sure that designer experience is good. The retailers are here and very focused. They're here early. We know what they need. But I would say making sure that the amenities and the kinds of experiences we're giving designers while they're here is on target. And to do that, it's staying very close to you all, including riding the bus and, eavesdropping.
That's such an operations mindset, though. It's like, I love knowing what's wrong. Like, please tell me what the problem is so I can address it and fix it. Like,
yes. Yeah. I get giddy about that. Like,
I don't want to know what's wrong.
Oh, no. I have to know. And it's funny. I even get to, I'll get a text from somebody who, friend in the industry, working the show from a different, from a publication or a different standpoint. And they're like, oh, I just saw something that you're going to want to know. Remind me to tell you. And I'm like, no, girl, you're going to tell me now.
I can't wait.
I can't do this. Because the other thing that's so different about this is we have 6 days to get it right.
Yeah.
And so if you don't if you tell me now,
you get a do-over every spring and fall.
I do, but you make a decision of whether you're coming back or not based on your experience. And if something is wrong, I got 2 hours. I can fix it, know? And so to your point, Melissa, I think if you don't, we say often about the people who work with us or who work around the market is that you're either sort of cut out for it or you're not. Based on what you just said, you have to want to know what those problems are and have this natural, inclination to want to solve it. But there's two kinds of people, those that get very energized by it and those who are in the corner in a fetal position, rocking back and forth.
Oh no, I can problem solve all day, but while I'm at market, I'm in real time. No,
we are not doing it now. Yeah, we're right. Well, and that's very different. And we want to make sure we've solved those so you can do that, Laurie. Yeah. The last thing I want you to be saying is I wish this were this way, or could, we want to know that before you say it.
Yeah.
So what's the most chaotic part then? Is it when you're there and you're listening to everybody and, doing your own market research?
The week before. Because I can still fix it a week before. Once it starts, my term all the time is the wheels are off and I'm running behind it.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that. There's not much you can truly impact of any, the little stuff, sure, certainly. But the week before is very chaotic because not sure y'all are aware, but designers are not always the best planners on the planet.
Really?
No, I mean, we are.
You are. But the amount of last minute things that we are let us help you, you don't have a hotel room or you haven't,
Oh no, you have to book your hotel room at least 3
I
months
know.
in advance.
Exactly. And so it's all those little things that our team, that week before is very early mornings and very late nights. But that is the most chaotic time. Once it starts, there is a little bit of a reprieve, I feel like.
Oh, good. What's the calmest time? Right now in between?
It depends on who you ask. You ask our marketing team who right now everything's getting, we're even already working on October of everything, or I'm sorry, already working on April. Everything for October is pretty much put to bed because our registration will open the third week in July. Yes. So all the decisions have to be made. Everything's set up, website ready to go. So we're that side of the business is very chaotic right now. And then there's kind of this small lull and then operations hit. So it is, two sides of the business here that have different, more chaotic times. But yeah, I don't want to make it sound like there's not, things do sort of normalize and we go home at 5:00, but it does get kind of crazy right before.
Yeah. You gotta love it.
I do. I do.
You love the crazy.
I love the crazy. You can't do this for 23 years and not
right.
Yeah.
And
I love working with you all. Like, I think the reason we all do this is a passion for the industry and a passion for the people. Yeah.
Well, and it's ever evolving. So I saw even just a couple of weeks ago that you had a big announcement.
Yes.
We tell us all about it.
Absolutely. A great partnership with the National Kitchen and Bath Association. And we know that you all as designers are, working more in a whole home fashion these days, and just trying to be in tune to that. And we love working with the NKBA, and Bill and I have had conversations for about a year, and the more we talked, the more we found that we just had this alignment that seemed to make a lot of sense. And there's going to be some cool stuff coming out about this. Yeah. So it's
been wondering about this for a while. Like, why are they separate? Why is it just furniture and not finishes and fixtures and all of these things?
Yes.
And so Melissa and I, we go every market. So we're there every market. And I noticed last time right next door to the Vanguard building, they had an NKBA pop-up.
Yes.
I was like,
we had an activation.
Something's going on here.
Yes. That was sort of us dipping our toe in the water. Like, we think this could work. Does this? And our teams work well together, and we just work very similarly. So there's definitely some synergies. We had a call this morning, and just, talking about things that I'll give you one thing, like research, like we should be working together to really learn what is next for this industry. And they are an association. We are not. We are a show organizer, a show sponsor, but it's interesting how it's kind of this yin and yang. I think we can learn so much from each other and really provide some resources to the industry that could really move the needle.
Yeah. Anything now that you can announce, or is that all till later?
I don't think I'm ready to announce anything yet, but I do think it will be. I think there will be consistently some things, some small things, some larger things that you will see. There will be things that come out that you all go, oh, okay, that's a result of that partnership. Like it's that we think make a lot of sense in terms of if you're a kitchen and bath designer and you are not at least exploring the rest of the home, you're leaving money on the table.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes. Agreed.
And it's, I feel like kitchen and bath are two areas that if you do not have that training, you're a little hesitant. Like, so what can we do to help designers even just explore, does this make sense for my firm? And then how do we more easily give you access to that information and to those brands? And I don't know, it's interesting.
I think it's really amazing, and it's going to be very convenient for residential interior designers, because oftentimes we are called on to do the entire home. Right. So it's not just furniture. It is a lot of kitchen and bath. And I think not a lot, but some interior designers can be intimidated by designing a full kitchen or designing a full bath because it's very technical. It can be.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited that this is going to be conveniently together instead of us having to go to multiple shows, and it's bringing it all together. But my question is, how long am I going to spend at High Point every fall and every spring to see everything? Because now, we go for 4 or 5 days already.
Yes.
Now we're adding a kitchen and bath.
We love this. We love this.
Am I going to be there for 2? I'll just move there.
I mean, we'll just move you in. How's that? No, I mean, I think that is, I I'll be honest, there are a lot of designers who don't, it sounds like, you all are not in this group, but there are a lot of designers who don't come every April and October, that are maybe a once a year or every third market or those. And so selfishly, from someone who runs the show, like, I want you to feel the need to be here every April and October. And so if this gives more reason for you to make sure you're here, then that's a good thing.
That's a good strategy. It's like April is kitchen and bath focus.
Right.
October is furniture focus.
We're already hearing some of this, even as we talked a little bit about education. Like, I talked to a designer this past market who said, spring is my product market and fall is my education market. Now, I do both in both markets, but I'm going to get my CEUs. I'm going to make sure I'm, current, and I'm taking advantage of everything that's here. And then I'm going to really dive into finding new sources and sourcing those. And so I thought, gosh, this is already sort of happening in its own way, that designers are utilizing the two shows in different ways. So how do we continue to help you all reimagine what you do here?
That does kind of take the pressure off of having to like cram everything into one market,
I don't know how y'all do it. I have no idea. It is, I think I know how to work this show, but it is a daunting task. And I went to, our board chair is Christy Barber, who, with Barber Spangle Designs. And, I went to Milan and to Paris with her, and working a show that I don't know with a designer was mind numbing. Like, first of all, it's just crazy.
J is not a huge show either. It's not like High Point.
It's not like High Point, but just like it was. I see you all work this show every day, and I guess because I'm so familiar with it, but you sit me somewhere where I'm not as versed, and I suddenly had this appreciation for first time designers coming here, is that it is a lot to figure out. And, I'm taking pictures of emergency exits, and she's over here going, have you noticed that everything has a curve? And like, no, I have not noticed that.
Look at the wayfinding. Like, that's what we're looking at.
Signage over here. It's great. And she's looking like I have three heads, but it's, it is so fascinating to watch that creative process. And so, if it does help to sort of concentrate on one thing, one market and another, we just, want to make sure that this market is seen as the places that have those resources for whatever it is you all need to make your business better. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So for those designers who are coming to the market for the first time, and you're a planner, how do you recommend they tackle it?
A few things. If you are not using the My Market tool, so the planning tool that we provide, if you are not doing that from your desktop before you leave your office, you are missing out, because lots of people don't realize it's the same login. When you log into the website, you do your planning, then you download the app and log in there. It's, it crosses both platforms.
It syncs together.
So it syncs together. And so you're able to really get a better experience doing that on the desktop, because it has more functions, those kinds of things for you to slice and dice the product. But then you're able to see your plan from your phone and map it and all those things. But lots of folks, I feel like, don't get out ahead of it enough, or when they think about it, they only have their phone in their hand. It's the resources that are there, the photography that's there, the video, all of those, I think, just present so much better from a desktop. And so being able to at least start that plan before you leave High Point, and then use that app when you get here, and to use it with the mapping feature, it groups everything by building and by bus stop. Mm-hmm. So you're not doing what we call the ping pong. You go to Turner Steel and back to Market Square, and then you go to Center Point, and then back to Market Square,
and then do the ping pong.
Yes, do the ping pong. And it's funny because I'll run into first time buyers. I can spot them a mile away in the terminal in the evening. They're usually holding their high heels on their fingers like this because they're thinking they need to be cute.
Mm-hmm. You don't know. It's sneaker game. It's a sneaker game all day.
It's a sneaker game. Absolutely. Our motto is we look good from the ankles up.
Yes.
The rest, it's just about comfort. But they're standing in the terminal. They are waiting for a bus. They can't really, but their feet hurt and they're carrying the market resource guide on day one. Don't do that. Pick it up the last day. Take the pocket guide, but don't carry the big one. Like there's all kinds of things. When it rains, use the skywalks. But it takes a little while to do that. We really encourage first-time buyers to do a tour.
Yes. Yeah.
This is important. Also utilize what's there. Style spotters is a great thing to follow. Laura, you did that in 2016.
Yes.
It is. Yes. I mean, these things can really help curate your trip to High Point in a way that we want you to return home, even that first time, and say, that was worth it for me. That was worth my time. That was worth my money. It was productive. And I got something out of this that I would not have experienced had I not gone to High Point. And so utilizing everything that's there as a first timer, we have a market advisor team here in our office. It's basically our customer service group. They are internal. They are sitting like 5 offices away from me right now. We answer every phone call. When our phone rings, we answer it. It does not go to something automated in another city. And their job is to it's to go through a checklist and then email that checklist to you and say, here's the things we talked about on the phone. But utilizing what we've put in place for that first timer can really make a difference.
I need to get back into this desktop planning thing.
Yes.
I don't know that
I do everything on your phone, which is great. Okay. I mean, planning is good wherever you do it, but I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but for me, looking at
think like having a big view.
Yes.
No, I agree. So knowing where to go, we're going to get that from the app. We're going to get that from our desktop platform. Right. It's going to go on the app. But what about those kind of like more exclusive things or things that may not show up on the app for designers that have been going for a long time or maybe new? Like how do we get invites to like these really cool events? Is that can we talk about that?
Well, gosh, Laura, I would say you probably know better than I do.
No, it just depends on the market. Like sometimes we get some cool invites, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is, honestly, you all being active on your own social media. I think brands really notice that. Okay. And that is the key is that,
heads up brand, we're going to be at High Point.
Yes, absolutely. And here's, I've used your product for my last 3 projects and I can't wait to see you in person. I feel like our brands are, you all ask about what's different. I couldn't say that probably 10 years ago. Yeah. That they weren't looking at that in that granular of, but it is interesting how I feel like that is very much something that our brands are noticing is
we want to be catered to.
And that you are following them.
Yes. Yeah.
And that you care about, reach out and say, this looks like an amazing design. I'd love to see this. I think also reaching out and saying, I'd love to hear the story behind this product. Mm-hmm. Can I get a meeting with your,
well, the creative team.
Those things absolutely.
Yes, that's what we find is really interesting. Yeah. When Melissa and I have hosted tours. Yeah. And I think the most successful ones are when we get in front of a brand's creative team and they are walking us through the product and they're talking about what went into the thought process of the design. That's the kind of behind the scenes exclusive information that designers love. So yeah, more of that. Brands that are listening to this podcast, more of that.
Yes, more of that. And I think, and two, it is, then you all walk away from that showroom with that story that you can pass on to the client. I mean, and then there is value. Then the client looks at you and says, gosh, of course I'm going to hire someone who's gone to High Point, because this is, the center of the universe as it relates to where this industry meets. So you're going to hear, you want to hear the stories about the product, not only to be able to make that perfect fit in giving your client what they need and want, but that it then becomes real. We all have a love affair with our home. And this is very top of mind for me. I just finished building a house and we'll never do that again.
Congratulations. Yes. I was going to say, how traumatized are you?
Pretty traumatized. But I understand now. I feel like, this is a part of my soul that's in this thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't want things in there that are not authentic to who I am. And when people walk through the door, I want to be able to say, this is XYZ manufacturer, and here's why that was special to me. Right. But if I don't have access to that, and that lifeline to those stories is through the designer. There's no other way to get it.
Yeah.
It's what you all bring that doesn't exist any other way.
And we share some of that provenance on social media. And I'm always surprised at how many of our current clients will DM us, ooh, tell me more. I'm like, really? Are you watching us go shopping? But yes, they are, and they love it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And they feel like they're getting access because, I've used a designer, Yeah, it's great.
That's actually an interesting point, because I thought about this as I was thinking through what we were going to talk about today. And so if a designer approaches market, not just as a sourcing trip, but also as a business development opportunity, like what do you feel like is possible for them from that perspective?
When you say business development, meaning like increasing those sources or looking for new sources and those kinds of things?
Even talking to new clients, like just like you were saying, Melissa, like clients are actually watching us source. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they can get a lot of that at we're showing all the behind the scenes at High Point when we're there.
Absolutely. And if you're not, announcing on social media that you're going to High Point and say to your clients, hey, exactly what you said, Melissa, let me know what you think, what speaks to you as I'm going through these showrooms, and I'll tell you more about it. Or tell me what you're looking for. What do you think will be your next big purchase? And if I cross something, I'll let you know, using that because they all want to be here. If they're doing this that they think they want to be there. Absolutely. But, but I'll tell you that the thing that we take so seriously in this office is credentialing. You all come here with a pass around your neck that says buyer at the bottom. We take that very seriously, because the last thing I want is for you to be walking the streets of High Point or in a showroom and you see your client. That is not good. Right. No. And some designers choose to bring their clients.
Want to guide them. Like I want to be with them. Yeah.
That's right. I want designers to handle that in any way they see fit for their client base. But what I don't want is for us to, and sometimes it's unavoidable, because again, if you register someone under your company name as a guest, I don't know who that is, right. But this is a show for you. This is for access to those trends and to those stories and to the business development piece of that, that is for the design trade. And so we take that very seriously in making sure that we stay true to that. The other piece I would say in terms of business development, and if I keep talking about this, Laura, you're going to say, gosh, I need to be there for 2 weeks.
Yes,
is leaving a day for discovery. We talked about that a little bit. You all are I've encouraged you to plan. You're very programmed. There are lots of things you have to do. There's the, the CEUs, there's the networking, there's all those things, but at least leave half a day to wander.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree with that.
Wander.
Yes. I agree.
And you can take your name tag off and ride the bus with me.
I know. I may want to actually, like, that sounds kind of fun. But I've had other designers tell me that they do that. They save an extra day on the end. And it's not just to wander, but it's also to revisit some of those vendors that they may want to spend more time with. That they just couldn't, but they may see something they really want. They jot it down. They leave time. That last day, there's nothing booked at all.
Yes.
It sounds kind of dreamy.
It does. Interestingly enough, it's been a couple markets ago now. I was standing in the Point, which you all will know, the little structure we build in Commerce Avenue. And if someone goes to an information booth on the street and that our team there feels like, okay, this person needs a little bit more help than I can probably do on an on-street info booth, they'll send them there. It's where we also send first-timers who kind of show up with their shoes in their hand and need some extra help. But I was standing in the Point and just, again, start eavesdropping. Y'all are going to see my trick to the trade here. But someone had taken like a trade publication and had, I guess, for a 6-month cycle in between markets, when they ran across something they thought was interesting, they ripped the page out and put it in a file folder. Well, she arrived in High Point with a file folder of ripped out trade publication pages and was like, help me get to these.
Bless her. Oh my gosh.
And so our information person literally was like, 200 Steel, 200 North Hamilton, like, let me help you put this in some sort of order. And okay, these you're probably not going to get to, but these in half a day you could do,
Yikes.
But she kind of did that discovery from her desk. And then when she wish she had called us and we could have helped her do that before she got here with her ripped out pages. But how cool is that though? Just to be like, oh, I really love that. Not going to think about it again until, but some of that discovery.
Yeah. It's interesting to see it through a first time visitor's eyes too. So we came this last market and brought our design team, and 2 of our senior team had never been before. Okay. And I thought Olivia was going to shed tears because she was like, oh my gosh, this brand, and oh my gosh, this brand, and I've never seen it in person.
Yes.
And she was so excited. And that is just such a designer thing to be like, oh my God, it's noir. I've never seen it, But it was really exciting because I've been coming for almost 20 years. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving quick. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I know what I'm up to. And just to have her walk in just like with this sense of awe was really fun.
Yes. No, and you love to see that, like just the excitement about the product, I think is, and that creativity, for those of us who are around it a lot, and I'm not that creative, but for me, it's going through and not only it's seeing like the display and the merchandising and like what goes, the minds that are behind
better every market.
Oh, and the product design, like you look at things and you're like, who thought of that? That is amazing. And so it's all those things in one. We like to call ourselves, Disney World for designers, because I feel like it's that, you have that sense of awe every time you walk into some of these spaces. Yeah.
Melissa, anything before we start wrapping up? I mean, I could talk about this all day. We spent
is there any words that you have for designers? Like, especially, people are coming in the fall. What do you want to leave them with? Or what do you want to get them hyped up about?
What do I want to get them hyped up about? I think it is tough right now. We all see this. Like, consumer confidence is not where we want it to be. It is, people are not, we need more home starts. And instead of making the decision that this is not the time to come to High Point or to cut a day off or 2 days off, again, I know I want designers to see this as it's the exact right time to come to High Point.
Yeah.
It is the time to invest in your business, and seeing a trip to High Point as just that, because those of us who've been around long enough know that this thing is going to turn and business is going to return, and you all need to be ready for that. Yeah. And this is an investment in that. And use this as a time to reconnect. You know, I think about there's a group of designers who come here who call each other their family. It's like my friends and my family, and they're my market family. And so finding those people to really connect with while you're here, and to use it as that inspiration, that recharge, but also really able to improve your business. So maybe you get a tip that you're like, this could be the difference for me. Talking to somebody on the bus who says, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Or have you seen this piece of software that changed my business? Those things exist here. And so not using, I guess, a time when, again, we all wish people were buying more home furnishings or looking to remodel their homes, using this as a time to energize for when that happens.
Yeah, because there's going to be a day when you are going to be way too busy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I felt like spring market was buzzing. I know that things are a little up in the air right now, but I do feel like, you know, you're right. Like the networking is incredible. The educational opportunities are amazing. Just going to a designer dinner with your family.
Yes. With your family. Yeah.
That you're going to see people that are in the industry nationally that you would never see otherwise.
Right.
And that's what I've been going, like I said, 20 years. And so it takes time to develop that network, but
it does.
Even if you've never been, don't worry. Like it's very open and welcoming.
Yes.
You can start in October. And you can always just find me and Melissa too. Like we're there.
That's right. Yeah.
We are happy to show you around.
Yeah, absolutely. And lean on that. You know, these are folks who, you know, follow you and, you know, who love the podcast and reach out. You all know how to do this. And that's, I feel like the great thing about this industry is you are so embracing and want people to have a good experience. Yeah.
Yes. Same. We are aligned.
We are.
Well, I know you just got back from vacation, but last question, just kind of rapid fire.
Yep.
Where are you going this summer? Anywhere? You traveling?
You know, I feel like like I said, I kind of, I don't have any major plans. Again, I told you I just built a house.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you're
right.
You're recovering from home building.
I am. And so is my pocketbook. So, you know, it's one of those where there might not be a whole lot of vacations but I am loving just being in the house and like, it feels like, you know, this is kind of, my respite, which is good. But yeah, I don't have any big plans on the agenda, but definitely something before October. We got to get away at least one more time.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely.
And then what about any good books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, publications you're loving?
Gosh, let's see.
Operations
on
manual.
The spot. My team would be like, how did she know? It's terrible. It's terrible. It's what it is. Can't think of anything that is off the top of my head, Laura.
Well, that's because you've been building a house.
Well, this is true. I feel like it's, I'm that person like ripping pages out and being like, oh, look. I'm
going to just show up and here, can you do this?
Can you help me? Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you in person in October.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thank you all for having me. This has been fun.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on design-.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.